This is a video for anybody wanting to get into e-commerce or entrepreneurship. It's really a treat. What I've done today is I've brought in my friend Carl Weische, who generates millions upon millions for e-commerce businesses through conversion rate optimization. This conversation was extremely insightful. We not only talked about some technical stuff when it comes to conversion rate optimization, some common mistakes that a lot of even beginners make when it comes to conversion rate optimization, but we also talked a little bit about his journey and how you can actually carve your own path as an entrepreneur when you're just getting started. It was an incredible conversation, and I'm sure that you'll all enjoy it. So without further ado, here's the conversation. Enjoy. To anybody watching, welcome. This is my friend Carl. Carl, how do you say your last name, man? Carl Weische?
Yeah.
Nice, Carl Weische. So welcome. I'm really excited to have you here. You're basically known as the CRO GOAT on Twitter right now. That's kind of how we crossed paths. So if you wouldn't mind, I would love for you to maybe introduce yourself and give us a little bit of a rundown on your journey to becoming the CRO GOAT. I'm trying to see how you got there.
After brother, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a huge pleasure. So for me, basically everything started when I was 15, 16 years old, when I initially started to get into psychology. So those were like the early stages. I initially wanted to use it for personal development and just becoming happier, more motivated, influence myself and stuff. So I started picking up all these books around psychology, personal development, like Tony Robbins books, all of the stuff that you read in the beginning, right? The Secret, Law of Attraction, and all this stuff. So I started reading those and I just really, really liked it and got really, really deep into different topics all around psychology, right? Started with wanting to motivate myself, influence myself, turn my life around, and then also influence the relationships that I have with other people, right? So books like How to Win and Influence People, stuff like that. So that's how I got started with the whole psychology field.
Wow.
And then also I was watching a lot of people like Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Elliot Hulse, and all of these big people, right? So I started consuming their YouTube content and I was like, wow, all of them are so successful. They are so free. They can do whatever they want. They have a lot of money. I want to be like them. So when I was 16, I made a really strong connection in my mind between being an entrepreneur and then also having all of these perks, right? So this kind of formed in my mind. So I also thought about, okay, how can I make money online? There gotta be a quicker way than just going into a 9 to 5 and making 60, 70K a year. There gotta be another way, right?
Right.
So as probably every single one of us, I just jumped onto Google and typed in how to make money online. And then I started the research process.
That's funny.
I mean, you probably remember when you did it the first time, right?
Yeah, for me, it was with Ty Lopez too, man. That's pretty funny. He got so many people inspired to like do their own thing. It's kind of interesting.
And then I found everything from affiliate marketing to running SEO blogs to doing day trading to I think ecom wasn't that big back then, so there wasn't a lot of dropshipping, but all of that kind of stuff, right? And what stuck with me is because all of my friends were buying Supreme and Yeezys and were going crazy over those kind of stuff. So what I was thinking is maybe I can use all of this. So I started buying and reselling limited sneakers like Yeezy, Boost, 350, 750, 350 V2, Supreme, Jordans, anything that I could get my hand on and where I knew it was limited and I could sell it for like a higher price in the resale market afterwards. So I started doing that. And I grew it over time, and I grew it to the point where it got pretty big. But then I would have had to register a company. And then I was like, fuck no, I'm 16 years old. I don't want to get into taxes, financials, bookkeeping, all this boring stuff. So I just cut the business, and then I didn't do nothing for like 1.5 to 2 years. And in my first semester in university, I was like, damn, I really got to start something again. So I started an online shop with a good friend of mine, and we also ran Amazon FBA. And we initially started selling phone cases, wireless chargers, and that stuff. And that's how I got into CRO, and now we kind of closed the circle.
Yeah.
Then I hired a freelancer to work on my store and help me with the CRO side of things, help me do copywriting, designs, and everything. And like I started working with him, and then it slowly started to connect the dots of conversion rate optimization is basically bringing together understanding of psychology that I already had and this like love of selling things online, right? It was just like bringing both worlds together, and I was like, holy shit, like this all makes sense. So this is really, really interesting because and you may know this too, when we read these books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, they tell you certain strategies, right? And then the next time you're at a marketing event or whatever, you try to apply a strategy, like use their name all the time, or do this, or look in their eyes, or listen more than you speak, or something like that, right? And you just apply these strategies that you read in these books. And sometimes it works, sometimes it takes some more time to work, sometimes you have to individualize it to the situation or whatever. But it was always that we could switch up the copywriting on a landing page and we would instantly see an uplift or a decrease in sales, for example, right?
Right.
So for me, it was like I can apply psychology, I can understand how the customer's thinking, like what the emotional stages and what thought process the prospect is going through. And then I can kind of tweak some things on the funnel, on the landing page, and then it would have an like measurable instant effect on their behavior. And for me that was like really exciting.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it makes it sound so much more interesting than if you just say like conversion rate optimization. Like that's very interesting, man. Super interesting.
For me, it's more about understanding the consumer psychology side of things, and then based on that, do the tweaks. It's not like on Google, I type in what 15 CRO hacks, and then I just put a lot of payment providers and trust badges and guarantees on my page. Much deeper than that. And so like that's where I am today. So we run an agency with a team of 35 people now. We work with 8-figure brands, 8-figure D2C brands, most of them in like health, beauty, and fashion. And yeah, that's what I do now.
Beautiful.
So that's
dude,
like
that is the full journey, man. That was perfect. I usually love asking people about their journey from the beginning because there's a lot of people that listen to these things and they're in a position where they're, they don't really know exactly what their path could look like. So giving people a blueprint, especially something like what you just said, it's really interesting. First of all, I didn't know you were a reseller. That's pretty funny. I feel like that's an interesting thing. And then the psychology background, man, I didn't know that. I used to want to be a psychologist as well in high school, but the reason why I didn't pursue that was because I didn't feel like I could be free and like make enough money to actually do what I wanted to do. But you were able to figure out a way to apply that passion and be able to make a ton of money through it by creating this agency. So that's incredible. Now, let me ask you a technical question then, now that we've hopped forward all the way to the current stage of your journey. So you have a pretty wide network at this point, right? So how were you able to get connected to some of these companies and people that you've met?
Question. One thing that I want to say, because you mentioned it, and I think you made a really great point, is that we only can connect the points looking backward, right? Like I cannot tell the future. I can only now look at the past and connect the dots. And what I also found interviewing another good entrepreneurial friend of mine is that, like as an entrepreneur, you always keep iterating, and from like business venture to business venture, you like slowly move to the one that's perfect for you. So for everybody that's starting out, if it's like it doesn't feel 100%, or if you think there's still some potential, just give it time and just be patient, and you will find like the way that's perfect for you. So I just wanted to quickly mention that. Secondly, can you quickly remind me? I lost it.
Oh yeah, no, you're good.
Because I wanted to touch that point.
Yeah, that was a really good point. That was very well said. I basically asked, now you're at this point in your career where you are working with 8-figure brands. How were you able to develop that sort of network to get you to that place?
Great question. So I'm a strong believer of giving and then taking. So always providing value first. So what we used to do, and this really shows like the compounding effect of being a business owner and an entrepreneur. You don't have like a linear growth curve as a business owner and entrepreneur. It usually looks like this. And then boom, it usually compounds over time. And that's also the beauty of being an entrepreneur, because all of your efforts at one point, it will explode your business growth. So what happened was that for us, like 1.5 years, we just used to be behind the screens, just working, right? We were in some Facebook groups, we were on LinkedIn, we did some outreach, but we didn't really do a lot of stuff, right? So we just focused on like getting results and getting case studies and like learning and applying and iterating. And then only beginning of this year, we started going more outwards, right? So we started doing the first public speaking gigs. I first started to invest really heavily into Twitter and network and everything. And every single time that I met somebody, I was always thinking, how can I give value to this person, right? Because where you really build a meaningful connection, right? I'm not going to you and I'm saying, hey, Arie, can you show me how to build a dropshipping store? And then afterwards, I would just go away, right? I would think about something of how I could provide value to you, even if I was like a completely beginner stage, right? I was always thinking, what's interesting for this person right now? Maybe it's just that for the next 30 minutes, you can give them like a beautiful time and make them feel good, right? Like the power of emotions, because afterwards we will only remember how somebody made us feel and not exactly like what we spoke about, right? Like when you had an evening with your friends, it's not that you will go home and you said, oh, we talked about XYZ. It's rather like we were laughing all the time or something. So that's what I always had in mind when connecting with new people, always going value first, and then always focus on putting yourself in a room where you are the loser, right? Where you are like the smallest person, because only then you can learn and you can grow. I hate being in a room where I have the feeling of being average or being great, because then I'm in the wrong room, right? So it's really uncomfortable, and I've been doing this for ages and ages and ages. But if you always put yourself into a new social group or like a new room, so to say, it's really uncomfortable, but it will go a long, long way. Because,
I love that.
Like, you will always, you will always kind of level up to like new rooms and new stages, and without actually understanding what happens to you personally, you grow. Like you grow insane, and that's kind of what happened over time with like all of this kind of coming together with like building the personal brand, going outside, networking. It's just that the compounding effect of all of this effort is hitting, and people approach me and want to work with me, right? Just from me being on Twitter and saying, we do conversion rate optimization, or this is a case study or something. Right? Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, I see you provide a ton of value on Twitter, and that's definitely a way that you're able to build that network as well. So I do want to cover a few of the things that you've posted on there for some technical value, but I think you're 100% right about, and I agree 100% with being the smallest person in a room, how overpowered it is, not only in terms of building your network, but also in terms of building yourself up. And, it's uncomfortable, but that's what growth feels like. Like growth is uncomfortable. It's like at the gym, to grow, you have to like really push yourself, and it kind of sucks in the moment, but you grow from it. And then the other reason that I think that's a really powerful piece of advice is because, at least for me, whenever I've met people like yourself or, other people that are just crushing it, it gives me almost a sense of relief when I meet them, because I realize that it's just people that have like, they've connected the dots, like you said, in a certain way that just made them successful. But we're all people, we all have this potential in us. And I always get that feeling whenever I'm connecting with people that I like sort of maybe romanticize their success or something, and then I meet them and I'm like, oh, you know what? They're actually, we could just be like friends, which is pretty cool. I love that.
Great point there, and I really enjoyed this conversation with you, bro. Did you see this video lately that Alex Hormozi was talking about, like the 3 things that unites all entrepreneurs?
I think so. I've been watching like all his content lately, man. That guy is awesome.
What he said, I don't remember all 3 of them, but one was that basically every single entrepreneur has this feeling of never being enough, right? Like we are so insecure that we always want to grow, succeed. And that gives us like such a huge drive to just like grow the business venture that we in, right? So that's like one of the 3 things that he mentioned, and it just like struck gold with me, because I was like, yeah, like every talk to, they just like, they always aim for more, but like when you really understand like where it's coming from, either way, the past of being like a Call of Duty professional, or they were an outsider and nobody liked them in school, or they were failing in school, or they always felt like somebody that didn't understand how life is working, felt like everybody's turning against him, whatever, right? Like, you hear like all of these stories, but then it's like 3 to 5 main journeys where I feel like every single person that I'm meeting has been going through in some way, right?
Yeah, that's interesting, because that was going to be one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, as a piggyback off of the network question, is what do you think are some common traits that the most successful people you've been meeting have? Because, as you meet more people, you start to see different traits or the same traits over and over again in these people. What do you think some things would be?
Great question, too. I really, really like this question. One thing that I will say, and then I will just like kind of speak my thoughts afterwards. When I was in Miami in May on the event that Luca Nets hosted with Andrew Vieira, he did an amazing presentation on the yard, and he said that at point, like you reach like certain mid 7 figures, and then it kind of switches where money is just a KPI that helps you keep track of success. Like it kind of turns into a game, right? It turns into like you at this level and you try to hit the next level and everything, but it's like it doesn't change your lifestyle anymore, right? It doesn't change how you feel anymore. Just like another like kind of, it's like more money. It's like a KPI, right? Of like business success that you look at and you're like, damn, I'm 6 figures here or whatever it may be, right? And he said something that really, really, really inspired me. And he said that for the biggest change was finding a why, right? It was not about how can I make more money anymore, but why am I doing what I'm doing, right? And that was always a huge thing for me, is to kind of find out why are you doing what you're doing. Because only if you have like a really, 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 really crazy driver, like a really strong why, you're going to push through all problems, all struggles, all challenges, and all highs and lows. Because, and I also read a really great tweet about this today. Nobody wants to talk about the dark sides of being an entrepreneur. Nobody wants to talk about the years and years of loneliness where you feel like, is this even going to work out in the end, and all that stuff. Like nobody's going to talk about that ever. Like I really want to do like a mental health podcast one day for entrepreneurs.
That would be,
like
that's a good idea.
24/7.
Yeah.
Because this is also like one common trait that I see along every entrepreneur. Most of them, like, they are to some extent, I don't want to say crazy, but they have a really unique way of viewing reality and viewing the world, right? It's like you have to be somewhat, is crazy the right word? I'm trying to find the perfect word to describe it.
Like delusional a little bit is kind of like another word that but I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
Probably better to describe it, because you have to be somewhat delusional to believe in yourself so much that you actually just put years and years of hard fucking work into yourself and like the vision that you're trying to accomplish. Something that Lucas said, like, first of all, you have to switch from how to make more money to why are you doing this, because you need something that fulfills you. As Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. You don't want to be 35 years old having a 9-figure net worth and everything that you can imagine, and you don't feel fulfilled, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge one. And then Luca also said this in another podcast, you always have to believe in yourself and trust the process. So for me, if I would have to pinpoint the common traits that I see, it's like a hunger that you cannot really, how do you say, like insatiable hunger, like a hunger that you cannot really stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a thirst.
Want more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the thirst for more, you always want more and you can never stop. Like and like delusional sense of trust in yourself and the vision that you want to accomplish. And then so I think entrepreneurs always keep learning. Like you're always being a student of the game. Yeah, it's almost a weird balance between you have to trust yourself to a certain extent, but you always have to put your ego down so you can be a student again and learn more. It's like a really, really weird balance. Maybe you can resonate with this. That
100%.
Like on the one hand side, you really have to trust yourself, and then on the other hand side, you have to put your ego down so you can learn again, student again, to go to the next level.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put it, bro. That's brilliant. I think if you can manage that balance really well, that's when you achieve like outsized returns. And I think that's what, you see in all these other people that you mentioned. So super interesting. Those are great traits. Now, let me get a little more technical now and ask you a little bit about some common mistakes that you see in conversion rate optimization. So let's say in general, the landscape of e-commerce, what do you think are some common mistakes that people are making that's really hindering their conversion rates?
Really technical too, so I like it. So in terms of conversion rates and everything that's going around conversion rate optimization, I think a lot of people try to shortcut their way to success, and they think, well, I can just copy and paste this landing page template, or I can just use these 10 hacks and throw them on my store, and I'm going to increase my conversion rate. While conversion rate is like a lot more work, right?
Right.
It's same with the creatives and same with the media buying, like everything you do in business. If you want to do it right, you have to put a lot of effort into it. So I think like that's some of the myths that are going around there. And in terms of how to do it right, it's also on the foundations. It's based on the foundational understanding that you have to create your target audience, your prospects, and the market that you're selling to. Because at the end of the day, I keep coming back to psychology so much, is that you can only crush really in e-commerce and as a brand owner if you understand the fundamentals and principles of psychology, of direct response, of advertising, of business, of unit economics, of all of this, right?
Right.
So you need to have a good understanding of all of these, because otherwise you're not really going to grow. I hit like 7, maybe even mid 7 figures. But if you really want to take it to the next level, like mid 8 figures, you need to get down to the foundations and the principles. So for me, just focusing on conversion rate optimization, you need to get an amazing and deep understanding of your target audience and who you're selling to. Because you can have an amazing, beautiful website with amazing copywriting, but if your product market fit isn't right, or if your offer isn't perfect, then it's not going to work, right? So you need to dial in these foundations first of understanding who you're selling to. And I keep repeating myself because this is so important. In terms of technical, actionable steps that you can take is ask your customers, right? Send out surveys to your customers. Understand these tools like Google Analytics or Hotjar, where you can see like the user flow or how they behave on your store and your funnel, right? Every single data where you can get an understanding of like how they're interacting with the pages and why they buy, that's amazing. So for example, you send out a survey to your existing customer base and you ask them, what buy our product? What solution did you want with our product? How are you using our product in the day-to-day? Why did you choose us and not a competitor? What's important for you when shopping for this kind of product, right? Like all of these questions together, the understanding of their pain points, beliefs, motives, and desires. And then just by going through these answers, bro, it's gold. Like,
right.
It's amazing, like the kind of understanding you get from their psychology of why they buy, right? Like the pain points that they have when shopping for competitor products, or like how you and your product is helping them and giving them a huge solution to a huge problem they have. And then you can take it and optimize the copywriting that you have, or the value proposition that you have, or the benefits, or the little videos that you put into your product description of trying to showcase the benefits of the product. And you can even use it as the basis for your creatives, right? So I would say overall, to kind of make the point here with CRO, it's really important to take it to the basis and not trying to find like a shortcut or a quick guide or quick hack or template, because like best practices, like there are certain wireframes and certain basics that work. Same with creatives.
I was going to ask about creatives next. It's funny that you mention it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's cool. So I wanted to ask about how then does the creative impact what you guys are doing on the actual landing pages? So for example, are you also advising on copy to use, or is that outside of the scope of your services? Like, do you know what I mean?
For our services, we only focus on the website. So like the whole funnel from like the first touch from the landing page to like the thank you page. In terms of from the point of view of the brand owner, I would always is the first touch point with my prospects until like they have the product at their doorstep, right? So anything from the scroll stopper to like the creative, to the call to action, to the landing page, checkout, thank you page, to email sequences that you're sending in between, until like they have a great customer experience with the product in their home, right?
Right.
Because ultimately, only if you dial in the complete like A to Z of your whole brand, that's how you're going to crush.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So let me ask you something a little more personal now, just to, a lot of these things are basically my own curiosity. So that's why I said at the beginning, like, this is just going to be like a conversation. But I'm curious, what does your daily routine look like? Like, what's your day to day look like?
So for me personally, how I like to structure it is that I have like a deep dive blocks in the morning, so I don't take any calls before 2 p.m. So I will usually start working between 8 to 9 a.m. And then I will have 2 blocks of like 1.5 to 2 hours, just like straight work. This could be something like whatever, getting done off my to-do list, or creating a YouTube video, or consulting for this client or whatsoever, right? So I will go into these blogs, and this is based on the book Flow that I highly recommend. It's from, I think, a Polish psychologist. It's an
Flow.
amazing book. Yeah, it's called Flow. Like, the name is really difficult to
Yeah.
pronounce. But it's an amazing book. Long story short, what he talks about is that you need to set these like around 2 hour blocks with like a task that's complex and difficult, but not too complex and not too easy. So you got to find the perfect balance, and you got to experiment a little bit with what works perfect for you. And it's got to be a task that you can completely finish into like 1.5 to 2 hours. And then you put all of the distractions away, you go into flight mode, cancel out everything, and then you just focus on getting this one task done. And then what's going to happen is that your brain is going to get into a flow state where like everything, and you know this, right? Like tunnel vision. Everything else is going away, and you lose track of time, and you're just working. So to do this in the morning, then I have like a lunch break, clear my head, and then I usually have calls, like calls with my co-founder, with prospects, with clients, with team members, just kind of like managing everything. I usually work until like 8 to 10 p.m. depends on the day to day. For me, it's like really important. And I did a tweet, funny enough, about this yesterday. It's really, really important to keep consistency. So I don't see point in just trying to hustle as hard as possible, like 14, 16-hour work days every single day.
Yeah.
But rather like keep it really well structured, take a lot of breaks, and really be efficient in the work, and not just wasting trying to convince myself that I'm being productive.
Right.
Yeah, so that's usually my day to day.
Love that. Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that too, because I mean, you still do work a pretty significant amount of time, but I'm sure you wouldn't consider it all like 100% work. Because so you start at like 8 or 9 and you go until like 8. That sounds pretty relatable to me as well, because I usually work well into the day, but towards the end of the day, it's almost like not really, like you said, it's not this like focused work. It's more just like fun work, I guess you could call it.
And for real, to everybody listening, if you get 2 of these flow state blocks every single day, like 4 hours of highly productive, highly efficient work every single day consistently, you're going to be like so much further ahead to all of your competition. Like you don't know how long 4 hours are of like really concentrated work. I'm not talking about 2 hours working and I'm checking my phone every 5 minutes and having like 10 different tabs open, right? And I think if like we gotta go away from this like hustle culture of just trying to keep busy and telling everybody that we work 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
So it's like a more like you really get shit done and you really have a great output kind of work week.
Love that. Especially right now, man. I feel like there's more distractions than ever. And I think that's why people struggle to actually make it anywhere, because that's really good advice. Just setting like 4 hours of really deep focused work. Whereas I think a lot of people, what they do, it's like they'll work all day, all night. But like you said, it's almost like hustle porn. Like they think they're working so much because they're checking social media, they're doing all this stuff, but it's not really getting them anywhere. They're kind of just treading water. So that's really great advice. Now let me shift a little bit again. So we're going everywhere. So with all this like crypto stuff going on, I'm really starting to become curious in people like yourself and others, how they're investing their money, because I just want to take in all these different perspectives. Obviously, there's people that were all in on crypto, people that are all in on index funds, real estate, whatever. And I think investing either in your own business or in something else is pretty important, judging based on the success of others. I haven't had enough time in the market to really like make anything significant of it. But I'm wondering, what are you doing when it comes to investing? Is it just your business, or are you like looking into investments for the long term?
Really interesting question too. So I'm not in the position to talk about traditional investments in that sense because we did not yet pull the trigger. I'm looking at a lot of different options. I can talk about the strategy that we are going to go through over the next year, but
Sure.
really important to say, like, I don't
Not
have a track
financial
record
advice.
of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. What we are going to do is we are going to diversify a lot. So like the most interesting ones that we are looking at right now is a diversification of real estate, watches, and like a portfolio of different stocks.
Oh.
Probably just going to put like a minor amount, like I'm talking below 5% into crypto, just because it's so fluctuating and so highly volatile. And if you're not like a fucking expert, like Luke Belmar, some crazy, some crazy analytical genius, I will not touch crypto. Like I see what Luke's doing and it's fucking brilliant, but I'm like, I personally couldn't do that, so I don't want to. For the past, we have been investing into the business a whole lot of money. And then the highest ROI investments that we did were always into ourselves. So I'm talking everything like courses, masterminds, traveling, consulting, workshops, seminars, books, kind of stuff. Like everything where I could get my hands into that would make me smarter or make me more valuable as like a business person. Craziest ROI. So like what I would give really as an advice to everybody, and I also gave this advice to like a friend of mine like 2 weeks ago, because he just like working 9 to 5, and then right now he's like a more consulting business, and he just got a 40K check, and he was like, bro, what the fuck do I do with that much money? And I'm like, bro, invest it into yourself. Like what I would do is just like travel, and then people really underrate investing into being able to talk to certain circles of people. So this is also a huge one. Like at this point, we're paying to speak to certain people, right? Whether be it certain masterminds, certain events, certain dinners, whatsoever. I just want to be in a room full of smart 8 and 9 figure entrepreneurs, just be in their presence, talk to them, and absorb what they are talking and thinking about. Like, and if you find the perfect balance of all of this, like invest into your skills, invest into your mindset, invest into your network, this short term, the highest ROI move that you can do. And then long term, you obviously want to put your money into certain assets that are going to give you like a safety net and a certain lifestyle and freedom. But for me right now, I see the highest to putting all of the money back into here again.
That's so smart, man. That I love that. And that's why I ask, because I think this has shown, at least me, but I'm sure a lot of people as well, that trying to invest all this time into a gamble, let's say, or maybe not a gamble, but like a just trying to get money, trying to get rich quick through crypto, stocks, whatever. I think people are starting to realize maybe that was kind of a bait, and maybe someone else is getting very rich off of that, but it's not necessarily serving you that well. Whereas the money that you invest in yourself, you have 100% control over that outcome, right? Maybe not 100%, but you know what I mean? Like it's a much better investment. So I like that you said that, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a ton of value from that. So lastly, this has been kind of long. This has been super interesting. I loved this conversation with you, but I want to ask, what would you give as some last sorts of pieces of advice to the general public watching this, whoever is watching? What is some last words that you would like to leave them with?
Thanks so much, Rod. I was really enjoying this too. First of all, because I just want to touch base on the last point that you made, because you just mentioned it. I think like the people watching, you need to get rid of this whole concept of getting rich quick. Like there is no shortcut to success. And I know it hurts hearing this, but there is no shortcut. Like maybe 1 to 5% of all people that are wealthy or like rich at least got there because they were in an amazing crypto whatever say.
Yeah.
But most of them got there because they put years and years of hard work and effort into this, into their self, into their vision to get where they are. And also you would were to get rich quick, you would not be happy. Like imagine if somebody would give you like 10 million tomorrow. Like what would in your life? Like you would probably spend half a year traveling first class to Dubai, buying Lamborghini and a nice couple of Rolexes, do some crazy parties, go on some yachts, and then you would be after half a year, okay, like what am I doing now?
Yeah.
And then you're going to try to find a purpose in your life. Much more rewarding to slowly over time get into success. Also for me, and I'm still in the early stages of my journey from my perspective, slowly into success and always like being able to kind of understand what's going on and being able to like be on the grab of what's going on was really, really rewarding and really fulfilling. And it's also like this whole mindset of building for the long term that I think is really important. Like, and the people really build for themselves, really invest in themselves, you're going to be rewarded for that. And the words that I want to like cut this off with, believe in yourself because like you are the best asset that you have. That's listening can resonate with me that when they started, they got backlash, whether it be from close friends, whether it be from family members, whether it be from school, teachers, mentors, whatever it may be. So it's not going to be all great times being an entrepreneur. That's what I kind of talked about earlier a little bit. There's going to be hard times, a lot of hardships. Maybe you're going to be alone for some time, but at the end of the day, it should be really, really worth it. I can just say, stick to what you're doing. If you're really serious about this, and it can take a couple of years for you to become who you want to be, you're going to get it, right? Like every single person is saying it. Every single fucking person that's successful is saying that they believed in themselves long enough. And that's also gave me like a certain sense of trust in the process. It's like listening to all these people. Like Kanye West said it too. He was so crazy to believe himself all the time that he then went successful one day. So never ever lose trust in yourself. Never ever lose belief in yourself. We should probably do like another episode where I just talk about all the hardships so that people can get an understanding of like the dark and like the hardships and like how long it can really take. I'd be really interesting. But
I would love
that. Those are like the most important words. Brother, I really enjoyed this conversation with you. Really, really, really like this.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, thanks again for your time, bro. This has been not only insightful, but like you said, a lot of fun. So I'm sure we'll have to do this again, maybe cover some more different topics in the future. I'm definitely down anytime. So just hit me up whenever you want to do that. Oh yeah, wait, you have a YouTube channel as well now. You mentioned YouTube videos, so I'll link that in the description if you can send me your link. But that's pretty cool.
Sweet. Thank you, brother. Take
care.
All
right. Talk soon, Carl. Peace.